I was assured by some of my friends and colleagues in the Democratic City Committee that I did not have to wear my breastplate and helmet tonight, and I'm confident that that's the case. However, I have been a long-term columnist for the Newton Tab, and in that capacity, which I just left a few months ago, I have been a major critic of the school system. I've written probably close to 100 columns about the schools. And I'm very different in many ways from the other candidates in that I have a very different vision, I have different ideas, and I have different priorities. And one priority that I want to stress when and if I do get on the school committee is the curriculum. And this is the white elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. And what I'd like to mention to you tonight is much of what I said to the Republican City Committee last night. And that is, that basically tails into what I've been writing about for a very long time. And it is the extent to which political correctness has permeated our curriculum to the point where it is unrecognizable, and would be unrecognizable rather, to many of you who attended our schools in the 60s, 70s, even 80s. And what do I mean by that? I'm specifically talking about the concept of anti-racist multicultural education. Now, what in the world does that mean? I have tried over the years to ask various administrators and school committee members, and nobody seems to be able to define that. Well, I can tell you what it means. The whole ideology is the ideology of the far left, of Bill Ayers. And that ideology stresses that America is a cesspool of racism, anti-Semitism, sexism, ageism, classism, and all other isms that defy explanation. This is what is taught to our children in the elementary schools, through the middle schools, and right into high school, from kindergarten on up. Now, many people have said to me, Tom, you make a lot of accusations and you say a lot of so-called innuendos, but where is your proof? Well, you know, the proof is basically what the school committee and the school department has been talking about for many years, and it's in something called the benchmarks. And what you'll find in these benchmarks, all you have to do is go online and you will see some of the absurdities that are written in it, whereby they speak about anti-racism as being a priority for the schools. Now, I could talk about fiscal issues, and I have, and I've talked about it until I've turned blue in the face, and I've talked about how I've written so many columns about the Newton North situation and how there's 65 administrators who make over $100,000 a year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not my priority. My priority is the curriculum. Nobody else is talking about it. I want to, and I will if I get on the school committee.
Thank you. Do you mind if I start? It's so hard being in Ward 8. We always go last. So, good evening. I'm Margie Ross-Dector. I am running for the Ward 8 seat, which is becoming open because Dory Zalesnik, who has been on the school committee for the last 8 years, has been term limited out. For people who have wondered about why I'm so passionate about running for school committee, I usually say 3 reasons, and their names are Noah, Jacob, and Zach. My 2 oldest sons, they attend Memorial Spalding, and my youngest son, Zach, will graduate Newton South in the year 2023. So I like to say that I'm really in it for the long haul. And really what motivated me to begin with, I have participated in our school's school council and really trying to fight for what we thought was right for our own kids and our own school. In the process of really fighting for what seemed like ever surmounting class sizes, I started to understand the issues underlying class size and all of the other things that we talked about tonight. So many of my colleagues have talked about tonight. And one of the things that I realized is that so much of what I do have done for the last 20 years of my professional career, I'm a working mom, is exactly what I feel that the schools need. To start out with, the first 10 years of my career, I was a healthcare executive. And as a healthcare executive, I basically managed large budgets. I worked with hospitals, which include union members, nurses, doctors, and really bringing together also the diverse needs of government programs, the public, and government agencies. And as part of that, we really needed to figure out how are we going to work within the declining reimbursement, the poor financial environment, while improving patient quality. And I really view that would be my role on school committees, to figure out how to look at the entire school system, figure out how to best deliver services on the education front, from typical education to special education in the most cost-effective, high-performing manner. And I worked very, very closely with data sets and finding ways to tie compensation to improvement. And it's one of the things that I've learned a lot about in terms of evaluation and goal setting. The second half of my career, I've been in the consulting arena. And so in that time frame, basically what I did is I've been consulting with organizations as an executive, but also trying to catalyze innovation through organizations that typically are pretty bureaucratic. So how do you find out how to connect the dots? How do you reach across departments? How do you align people along goals? How do you move and change organizations to improve along what we're trying to accomplish? I also have worked as a board member. I'm the president of the board of a nonprofit educational organization. I'm on the board of overseers of a local college. So I also have experience as serving as a board member. So in that regard, I know how to distinguish my role as an executive, which is the superintendent, and what I would want to see in that, as well as moving forward. And I can talk hopefully in my questions about some of the other ideas that I have. Thank you.
Okay, Margie, we'll begin the questioning with you. Some people say that they have lost faith in the city, in schools, because of the process through which Newton North High School is being built and because of its extreme cost. Do you believe this to be true? And if so, how can you get that trust back?
I think that this is what everybody has been talking about. I've heard it time in and time out. And I think, especially when you talk about public policy, and I've had a lot of experience with public policy, in particular in the first round of healthcare reform at Washington. I used to work in the White House, and that was really the first time that I really experienced what it's like to move forward on projects in the public arena. You really do need to engage the public at every level of the debate, and I think that there are some hard lessons learned, not just from health reform, but also from the process in Newton North on how we can do things better. I have moved forward on my campaign to try to restore that trust. One of the things that I've done is I've established a weekly meeting over at Tango Mango, which has really been, I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but every Sunday, I have opened it up to the entire city, of all ages, to talk about the issues that are important to people who live in Newton. And I've personally gone out to the neighborhoods. I've gone to old age homes. I've gone to the Newton Senior Center. I've gone to every pocket of this community, the schools, the parents, the kids, the teachers, everyone, to really find out what's on their mind and how to use my experience to best restore that trust and make a difference.
The Newton North situation is one that I mentioned earlier. I had written about probably about 24 times in the Newton Tab, really from the get-go. I predicted several years ago that it would be a boondoggle, and I was correct. And admittedly, I never envisioned when I first started writing about it that it would blossom to, or rather balloon to, $200 million. But this really occurred because of just a collaboration or lack of leadership from the school committee primarily, but also with the Board of Aldermen. But I think that the fault lies with the school committee, and we have to recognize that that's the case. I mean, they're the overseers of our schools, and they presented us with this project, which should have been really mitigated from the beginning. It should have been really an extension or just a renovation. But one of the, and so much went on with Newton North that I uncovered. It's just the absurdities of it. For example, what had happened at the school is that the school committee had withheld maintenance funds to the school for several years, and this was confirmed by a school committee member to my amazement several years ago. And so the school deliberately was let run down. And as a result, the state had to step in and offer money to the schools first to renovate it and then to rebuild it. And that loophole has since been closed by the state, thanks to the shall we say, the rather unscrupulous school committee members who adhered to that, or who rather took us down the path of Newton North. The Newton North thing, it's with us, and it's going to be with us for a long time. And we have to deal with this. There's not much we can do to mitigate it at this point. All that we can do is to see it to completion and maybe come up with an idea with the original Newton North. Perhaps we can keep it. Perhaps we can maybe talk the federal, state government into coming in to renovate, to rent the spaces, which I advocated many years ago. It's a travesty, and I wrote about it, but I wasn't responsible for it.